Hey everybody, it's Christina. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about preparing for the interview. So we've looked at resumes, cover letters, we've talked about professional image, workplace skills, and now we're going to be talking about how do you get ready for the interview? The big giant interview. So first of all, the interview is a two-way street. And here's what's going on in the interview process for those of you who've never been through one. Basically, employers are asking questions to check out your skills, to see if you're a fit for the job, and to see what they can garner or gather about your personality. Now, here's the kind of neat thing. Legally, employers have to ask the same questions to all the candidates for a specific job. So let's say we were all going for, I don't know, an intro supervisor position. We would all be asked the same questions. And the reason that is done that way is to ensure equitability and fairness in the questions so that we can review the candidates fairly. Now, the candidate in the interview, you're assessing the company culture, the job expectations. You're interviewing them just like they're interviewing you. And sometimes that little nugget or that little piece of information can help ease those nerves that you may have as you're going into an interview. So think of it as truly a two-way street. They're interviewing you and you're interviewing them. Now, there's multiple types of interviews. You may have a phone or a video interview, like over Zoom. You may have a one-on-one interview, or you may have a panel interview, which is where you are interviewed by multiple people at the same time. There are also behavioral versus technical interviews. And behavioral is what we're going to talk about a lot in this lecture. Technical interview would be, you're actually doing the task. Can you actually drive the semi truck? Can you actually operate this piece of machinery? Behavioral interviews are more about what have you done in situations in the past? Because what you do in the past is often a good predictor of how you will act or what you will do in the future. So that's the reason that many companies focus on behavioral interviews. Now, there is what's called an interview before the interview, and that's generally a screening interview. The process goes like this. You apply for a job, either humans or an ATS kind of go through all of the applications, all of the resumes, all of the cover letters, and then there are what's called screening interviews. Now, the screening interview is really an initial conversation or evaluation to see if you meet the basic qualifications. Generally, that's done on a phone call. You'll get a call from somebody at the company and they'll say, "Hey, Christina, I see that you applied for the head cashier job. And do you have a few minutes to chat about this?" And they'll ask me a few questions. If I pass, if I meet their expectations, I will generally get invited for a second interview. It's often that this is over the phone. Sometimes it's over video, and it's generally with a recruiter or a representative from HR. So they may ask in this screening interview things on your resume. They may ask about your experience. They may ask about your availability. They may also have a brief discussion about salary expectations and job role, such as, this is a non-remote position and the salary range is X to Y. Is this something you're interested in? So if you were looking for only remote positions, this would let you know, like, okay, I don't need to interview for that job. I don't want to waste everybody's time because I'm looking for a remote position. They may also say, hey, this job requires travel 40% of the time. Is that something you can do? You need to evaluate and see, is this realistic for me? Don't just say yes, because you will have wasted their time and your time. Some tips on this screening interview: keep your answers concise but informative. Okay, this is not where you tell them your whole entire life story. This is not the actual interview. This is just a way to look at this is it is just a way for them to screen and see if you're a candidate to move forward for an actual interview. Do your best to be in a quiet professional setting. If you pick up the phone and like the kids are screaming in the background, maybe ask them, can you call them back in 5 minutes to give yourself some time? I recommend not to do these screening interviews while you're driving because then you're super distracted and it's just not a great idea. So you can say, hey, I would love to talk to you. I need to get myself to a quiet space where I can focus and concentrate. Is there any way that you could call me back in 10 minutes or I could call you back? That's perfectly okay. You also want to speak clearly and confidently. Your goal is to get whoever this is on the other side of the phone or the video to say, you bet, we definitely want to move this person forward. Okay, so once you've passed the screening interview, it's not really an interview, the screening call, let's take a look at what some of the types of interviews you may be exposed to. A one-on-one interview is generally going to be with a hiring manager or a supervisor, and you'll get detailed questions about your experience. They may say, hey, walk me through your resume. These one-on-one interviews may also include some behavioral questions or technical. You may be asked to provide a work sample. Recently, at my job at the college, we were interviewing for an administrative assistant, and we did a behavioral interview, but we also asked for some technical work samples. So we gave them some data tables and we asked for some specific things to see if this person had the skill set in Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Office that would allow them to perform the job adequately. Some tips for these one-on-one interviews: make sure that you research the company and the role really well. Don't go into the interview and say, so what do your customers say about you? You can find that out online. Don't ask questions that you could find out online. Just go ahead and do your own research. You do want to prepare thoughtful questions to ask the interviewer. Things like, could you give me an idea of what a typical day would look like in this position? Or could you walk me through the training that will be involved in this position? How long is the training? So those are some questions you might ask. Also, during the one-on-one interview, you want to maintain really good eye contact and professional body language as much as you can. I know that in a situation where you're nervous, eye contact can be kind of hard, but just do your best to have at least decent eye contact. Okay, the next type of interview is a panel interview. Now, this is to assess a candidate from multiple perspectives at once. So, you may have a supervisor, you may have a potential coworker, you may have someone from a completely different department. So, what they're doing, the purpose of this panel interview is to get different perspectives on you, the candidate, and all the other candidates. It's going to be a structured interview where each panelist may focus on different aspects of the job: skills, culture, your problem-solving ability. What the panel does is it allows faster decision-making by the company. It's not one person doing the interview. It's a really broad and diverse perspective of the candidates. And generally, there's a scoring component that the panelists do that you don't have to worry about. So some tips: address your response to the person asking, but make contact visually with all of the panelists if you can. Bring extra copies of your resume. If you're told, hey, Christina, you're going to be in a panel interview, it's perfectly acceptable to ask, oh, great, how many people will be on the interview panel? That way, do I need to bring 2 copies of my resume or do I need to bring 8? And then just try to remain calm and take your time to answer the questions. I'm going to share with you some tips about handling emotion during an interview here in just a few minutes. Okay, after the panel interview, we have behavioral interviews, and sometimes the panel interview or the one-on-one can include behavioral interview pieces. So the purpose of this behavioral interview, like I said earlier, is to just figure out and understand how you've handled past experiences and how you might handle future situations. The format of the questions for a behavioral interview are almost always in the STAR method, STAR. So that stands for situation, task, action, and result. I'm going to explain that here in just a few slides. Some examples, excuse me, or an example would be, tell me about a time you handled a difficult situation at work. That's an example of a behavioral interview question. Now, here's some tips. You want to do everything you can to use specific examples to demonstrate the skill they're looking for. You want to be structured but natural in your storytelling. And another tip that's not on the screen is we need the key points of your story. We don't need a 22-minute play-by-play of every single person involved in the situation. What you're looking to do is highlight your participation, your situation, the task, the actions you took, and the result or the response. So it's really about you and your specific example. Okay, technical interviews, we talked about this a bit. These are to address job-specific skills. Lots of times they're used in IT, engineering, and some other specialized fields. It could involve coding, problem solving, case studies. When I was interviewing for my current role at this college, I was asked to do a teaching demonstration to the panel. So I had 7 people on my panel, and I had to teach to them as if they were students. That's an example of a technical interview. I also had behavioral questions. So keep in mind, all of these ways of interviewing can be intertwined and overlap. All right. In your section in Blackboard, you're going to have a video of how to stand out in the job interview. I want to encourage you to check that video out. It gives you some really good tips. As you prepare for your interview, it's really important to do research, familiarize yourself with the institution or organization, practice your questions, practice your answers. The more you practice, the easier it becomes for you to hear yourself responding. Lots of people get really, really uncomfortable and kind of bent out of shape when they have to talk about themselves. I've heard some students and clients say, oh, that feels like bragging on myself. Oh, I have a really hard time. I feel like I'm, kind of stuck up. And I often say to them, listen, friend, you got to build a bridge and get over that, because in an interview, that is the one place where it is 100% okay to brag on yourself. You're in a competitive process to get a job. It's okay to brag. Tell the truth, but it's okay to brag. And then finally, you want to plan. You want to have a good plan for interview day. You want to make sure you've got water. You've got plenty of time to get to where you're going. You know where you're going. You've got your copies of your resume. So planning is really important on an interview day. Okay, completing your research ahead of the interview is a really key piece. You want to look at what is the mission, vision, and values of the company. Is there any recent news about the company? You can do a quick Google search and see. Are there industry trends that are going on that you may want to ask about? What is the role, expectation, and key skills? And this, in my opinion, is the most important thing. Do you want to do what the job requires? So if the job that you're applying for, I'm going to just make up an example here. Let's say it was data entry, uh, remote work, no coworker interaction. You're in a home office all the time. You're expected to work 6 a.m. or excuse me, 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. Okay. That's not a job for Christina. I would say no, thank you to that job. I like to be around people. I like morning hours. I'm not a late night person. So you want to make sure that you want to do what the job requires. Do yourself a favor. Don't interview for a job that you don't even want. It's not going to do you any good. Okay, familiarize yourself is the second piece we're going to talk about. Know your resume. Know what's on it. Know be able to walk someone through your resume. This is a really good thing to practice. Pretend somebody asks you, hey, walk me through your resume and experience, and then literally practice that. You can even set up your phone to record yourself. I know that freaks some people out, but if you record yourself and you listen to it, you'll pick up, oh, I said like 50 times. I need to practice that and pause a little more. Maybe you were talking really, really fast and you want to slow your conversation down just a little bit. Also, know your cover letter for the same reason. What you put in your cover letter, they very likely are going to ask you about. Be ready to discuss your past experience with specific examples. And then it's really easy to anticipate some common questions for the job. Y'all, this is where AI can help you. If you are going for, I'm going to say, an entry-level bookkeeping job for the city, okay? You can go into just about any form of AI and you can put the job description in there and you can do a prompt and say, imagine that you're going to interview me for this job. What are some of the questions you would ask? The AI is going to spit out the most common questions for you. And this is a really good way to prepare yourself or familiarize yourself with what might be coming. Okay, next, practice. I've said it already. Yes, I mean, actually practice. You can go into AI and type, give me STAR, behavioral questions for an accounting job or a entry-level supervisor job. It's going to spit out questions for you. You can use those to practice. Let me tell you, friends, people are not practicing for interviews. I've done lots of interviews as a panel member, and I can promise you people are not practicing. If you practice, you will absolutely 100% set yourself apart from the competition. Okay, next is that plan. What's the interview format? Where is the interview? If it's going to be on Zoom or over Teams or in some other online format, do a test run, do a tech check, make sure your battery's charged, make sure you've got good solid internet, make sure, your kids and the dogs are not going to have a parade right behind you when you get ready to do this interview. If it's a physical location, do a drive-by before, maybe the day before, like drive during the time that you will be driving for the interview to kind of, what's the traffic like? Are there weird one-way streets that I need to account for? Plan and lay out your outfit and your supplies. This I cannot express the importance of. I'm a person who always needs a water bottle and always needs my lip balm. Like I can't function if I don't have a water bottle next to me and I can't like get my hands on my lip balm. I don't know. I kind of like as a human, I fall apart. Do you have those things? Do you need a drink? Is there like your favorite outfit you must have cleaned for that day? Do you have a special ring you wear or a bracelet or whatever? Make sure that you plan and you have yourself ready with your outfit and any supplies you're going to wear. Don't wait till the day of to iron your outfit, okay? Because what if you burn it? And I don't even know, do people even iron anymore? So just a thought. And take water. Even if you're not like me, you have to have the water bottle next to you. Take some water because you're going to get nervous likely. And when you get nervous, like you have physiological responses, you get thirsty. And so take some water with you. Just kind of calm yourself down a little bit. Okay. Yes, I just took a drink of my water. Talking about water made me thirsty. Next, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper to the STAR interview. In our course shell, you've got a handout that gives you the overview of the STAR method. It gives you a sample question and response, and then it gives you additional sample STAR questions that you could use to practice. So, like I said earlier, the STAR method, it's a structured manner of interviewing a person. And the S is for situation. So you're going to describe a situation you were in, be it work or be it a volunteer, whatever. You want to give enough detail for the interviewer to really understand, but not so much detail that they're thinking, oh my gosh, is this person going to ever stop talking? The situation can be from a previous job, from a volunteer experience, or from any relevant event. The key is you want to listen to the question and figure out what are they trying to understand through this question. And that's the kind of situation you want to come up with. The T is for task. So what goal Where are you working toward? A is for action. So you want to talk about the actions you took specifically to address the situation. And you want to give an appropriate detail and also keep the focus on you. A lot of times people want to start saying, we did this and we did that and we did this. These questions are about you. Now, if you were part of a team, it's okay to say we did this and here's what I did as part of the team. But definitely you want to try to use the first person I when you're responding to these STAR questions. Finally is the result or the response. So you're going to talk about the outcome of your actions, and don't be shy about taking credit for the behavior if it worked out well. Also, don't be shy about taking ownership if the situation didn't turn out well. You can always turn that into a positive by talking about what you learned from the experience. Okay, there's also a little overview in our course shell about, or a video about STAR interview practices. Now, I'm going to encourage you to review the STAR questions in the handout, pick 3, and then just write out your answers and maybe read them out to, your partner or, I don't know, your dog, your cat. You can even like set up a time with me and you can practice these questions with me if you want to. But definitely write out your answers. This is going to help you so much when you get into an interview if you have practiced this format of creating a response that talks about your situation, the task you were working toward or on, your actions, and the response or result that you achieved. Okay, so how do you manage the pre-interview nerves and the mindset? Well, first of all, keep in mind that first impressions matter. Maybe when you get to the place, if it's a physical interview, you need to go into the restroom and like do some deep breathing or jump around. But those first impressions really matter. This is why you want to be on time early. You want to be early so that you can go in on time. Also, think about your active listening and your clear communication. Almost always in an interview, you can just slow down. For some reason, when people get in interviews, they talk really, really fast. It's okay to just slow down. You can respond thoughtfully and concisely. And please, y'all, try to avoid winning the storyteller contest. This is not about who can tell the longest, most detailed story. Your interviewer is not looking for word count, okay? It's not a contest. Give the amount of detail necessary to get your point across, but don't tell them every detail. Like if you see the people falling asleep or rolling their eyes back, like you need to stop talking. Okay, I'm putting a little humor there. Hopefully you all got that. Here's one of my favorite strategies. You can literally ask for a moment to think in an interview. Let's say you get asked a question and your mind just goes blank, like crickets. You can't think of anything. You're getting thirsty and you're kind of starting to freak out a little bit. Low key freak out is happening. You can just pause and you can say, I would like to take a moment to recall an example. Or you could say, do you mind repeating that question, please? Or you could say, let me look at my notes. Because what I'm going to encourage you all to do is generate some notes about different behavioral questions to jog your memory. And here's an example of what I mean about that. Almost every interview that I have been in my life, there has been the question, tell us about a time when you had to work with a difficult customer. What did you do? And I have a really, really good example of my banking days when I had like the worst customer on the planet. And I used that story to talk about how I dealt with a difficult customer. And the key points were I listened, I empathized with the customer, and I tried to problem solve because we couldn't do what the customer wanted, but I tried to find some kind of common ground, something that we could do. And the result of the situation was the customer remained a customer of the bank. And actually, they brought their family members in to open their bank accounts after that situation. And of course, I would give a little more details in an actual interview. but that's the one that it's my go-to for a difficult customer situation. And you can come up with those things as well. Okay, how about emotions during the interview? Y'all, emotions are real. Everybody has them. First of all, if you get nervous in an interview, guess what? Everybody knows because you know why? People get nervous in interviews. It's kind of like a human thing. Even if people don't look nervous, they probably are nervous. So, first of all, try not to apologize. Our first response in an interview when we're nervous is often, "Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm really nervous today." You don't have to say that. We all know we're all human. We've been in the same place. Try to call on your most confident self to walk in the room and to sit in the chair. Ask for what you need. If you didn't bring water, it's okay to say, do you happen to have a bottle of water or is there a cup I could get some water in? It's totally okay. This one is kind of makes me chuckle every time I talk about it in class, but a restroom break. Yes, I'm serious. If you need a restroom break, it's okay to say, I need to take a restroom break. Can I have just a few minutes? They're not going to say no. They're not going to judge you. You're human. So, yeah, if you need a restroom break, just ask for it. You can also say, I need just a moment to collect my thoughts, please. And that's okay. Or you could say, I need a few moments to regroup and get myself back on track. Because check it out. Sometimes you just get off track in an interview and you realize, oh my gosh, I was just telling a story for like 7 minutes and like, ah, it's okay. Try not to let your critical voice come in and have a seat. Try to call on your confident self, let them hang out with you, and just ask for what you need. That's the best way to handle emotions during the interview because they happen. You're human and they happen. Okay, here are three questions I want everybody to prepare answers for. Okay. And I want you to like write these out and I want you to practice them, but I don't want you to memorize them. I just want you to think about what would you say? Okay. Because in an interview, somebody's going to ask you, so tell us about yourself. And if you haven't prepared an answer to that, you are going to start rambling, friend, and you might find yourself 12 minutes later still telling about yourself. Okay, the next one is the one that everybody hates. Everybody hates this question. What are your biggest strengths and weaknesses? And everybody wants to say, well, I don't have any weaknesses. Or they say, my weakness is I work too much or I care too much. Do yourself a favor. Don't give the canned responses that everybody else is giving. Put some thought into preparing a response to what is your biggest strength and what is your biggest weakness and how are you working on it? That's the key. If you can come up with your weakness and what you're doing to work on it, that shows dedication, it shows work ethic, and it shows that you have serious self-awareness. The final question is really a tough one for many of my students and clients is the question, what makes you the best candidate? You need to have a response for that question. And it doesn't need to be, well, I don't know, like I got a degree. Nope, that's not the answer. You want to think about what makes you the best candidate for the job. Okay, that was a lot of information. Hopefully, you found it helpful. So now I just want to encourage you the plan, prepare, and practice. I cannot say enough about that. I can't express that enough, but it's so, so, so important. You can look in the course shell and see for this class if we have any homework. And don't forget that your informational interview and your career portfolio, those final projects, will be coming due soon. So if you have not started on those, what are you doing? I would encourage you plan some time to work on those. Okay, folks, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, and I will see you soon in class. Take care.